Tuesdays means we talk a little politics. We have a Democrat and a Republican in studio with us, of course, Jeff Link and Craig Robinson joining us as we are keeping an eye on what's happening over on the East Coast. Jackie?
That's right. And you guys were kind of mentioning during the break that you're still in a bit of a caucus hangover because it's still recovering from everything that you guys have been covering, not just for a week, but for months and months. So we're kind of coming down from that still, but things are picking back up once again for New Hampshire. And we have numbers coming in. They're saying they're small, but they're already claiming the implications are huge. So you guys are going to have to tell me if this is true or not. So in New Hampshire, so they do polling, as opposed to what we do here with the caucus.
Yeah,
they basically vote.
Yep.
So in small towns with not a whole lot of people, Bernie Sanders is already claiming quite a few of the votes. John Kasich is beat Donald Trump in one town. In Hart's location, Kasich won with 5 votes. Sanders won the Democratic side. Ted Cruz won the Republican ballot and won. Clinton won one. But also there's reports that Clinton is saying if we don't do well in New Hampshire, we're shaking things up a bit.
And just to clarify, for those people that haven't followed this along, Jackie didn't mean that he won by 5 votes. No, he won with 5 votes.
We're not talking, because we're not talking caucus, we're not talking percentage, things like that. We're talking literally.
These are tiny little precincts way up in northern New Hampshire, and one of them, Dixville Notch, is kind of the famous one because they always vote at midnight. There's a number of these precincts that vote at midnight so they can be first. And at Dixville Notch, there were 9 total voters.
Right.
And I think Sanders got 4.
Bernie
in
Sanders
Dixville
got 4.
Notch.
Yep.
John Kasich got 3.
Yep.
And Trump got 2.
2.
Now, the funny thing is, it was also reported yesterday that John Kasich has personally called all 9, and he only got 3 of them to vote for him. So,
but those are better odds than he had here in Iowa.
Yeah, it was a lot better than he did here.
So they're saying the implications of this are huge. Are they huge, or we just haven't heard enough yet from New Hampshire?
We'll need to wait till tonight when the polls close. But, I love New Hampshire, and it's because, you come off this the craziness that is Iowa and that you're involved, and now you can kind of like kick back and just watch it all unfold. And it's great. It's really an intense 8 days of campaigning that these guys are going through and gals. And it's fun to watch. And I'm curious to see, we'll know tonight, is there something funny with the polling and Donald Trump? He was polling in the lead in Iowa. He has a huge lead in New Hampshire. Does he hold it in New Hampshire or not? That's what. And then does anyone, the Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, John Kasich, are they able to have an impressive enough win that they make this really a 4-person race, 3-person, 4-person race moving forward? So there's a lot to watch, and it's kind of fun to watch it in a much different way than we experienced Iowa.
People are still kind of holding on to Iowa as they kind of rebutted what the Democratic caucuses did, and they came out again saying no, Hillary Clinton was the winner, even by a very, very slim margin. But also Donald Trump still claiming that he pretty much won Iowa because the votes he didn't get were because of the Ben Carson controversy. So if he would have gotten those votes,
I don't know if he's claiming that or if he's just like
I would have won.
He's just saying that Ted Cruz is a dirty, rotten scoundrel. That's kind of, Cruz does his debate close on Saturday night, and then like 20 seconds into Trump's thing, he's like, yeah, but he cheated. And then, it's almost, it is.
But if you listen to one of his speeches, he's like, no, I should have won Iowa,
He just looks for an excuse to kick Ted Cruz any chance he can get.
Or anyone.
Yeah, but he particularly likes kicking Ted Cruz, it feels like lately. So,
Now, what does New Hampshire mean for the Democratic side? Years ago when Bill Clinton was running for political office, isn't that the one that helped propel him into getting the nomination?
Yes, he actually came back and got second place in New Hampshire in 1992, and that's when he was dubbed the comeback kid, which was a huge turning point in that campaign. And it was also a big turning point in 2008 when it looked like Barack Obama, after sweeping Iowa, looked like he was going to roll through New Hampshire, and Clinton actually won in New Hampshire in 2008. So this, it seems like New Hampshire's been a foregone conclusion on our side. Sanders started with a 30-point lead a week ago. It's down to about a 15-point lead now. So I don't think there's going to be any big surprise on our side. We're down to 2 candidates. Looks like Sanders is going to prevail, and both candidates will move on to
But there
Nevada
looks
and
like
South
there's
Carolina.
a lot of frustration on that in the Clinton camp with Bill Clinton's remarks yesterday, you know, he went after Bernie Sanders pretty hard. So I think there's some frustration that state is not performing like maybe they think it should.
Because I mean, we're still getting, you know, they might not be knocking on our doors and things like that anymore, but we're still getting emails.
Sure.
Chelsea sent one out. My mom is down in the polls. So obviously they're saying, hey, we realize things are hurting here. Help us out.
Right. Now, I think it's hard to be the comeback kid for Hillary when it is really a two-person race and you're the, you know, you're the establishment front runner in your party, and you're struggling. You're struggling with Bernie Sanders. So Sanders has run a good campaign, and it's going to be interesting to see what this race looks like post New Hampshire to me. And I think even the Republican race, I'm looking forward. What does this race look like moving forward? How does it change after New Hampshire?
Do you think anybody will drop out after New Hampshire?
Sure. I think so. Yeah, I mean, look at, you know, if Chris Christie doesn't do well tonight, if Carly Fiorina isn't really in the mix, I mean, I think we'll see we'll continue to condense the field after every contest.
Do you think Bush is getting any assistance with his mom now joining him on the campaign trail?
Well, look, for as many Republicans that loved Barbara Bush, you know, Donald Trump was really quick with this, you know, Jeb brings in his mommy to take a swipe at me was one of his tweets. And, you know, it's like with everything with Trump, there's just everything has a little bit of truth into it. It's true. And so I think it's interesting and you know, that Bush has embraced his family late in this race and couldn't run away farther from them in the beginning.
In the beginning, right.
And so I think it was just, you have to be who you are when you run for national office. You cannot fake it. You cannot distance yourself from your last name. And so we'll see. I mean, I think there's opportunity tonight for a Kasich, for a Bush. But it's got to be significant. It can't just be they finished second. Even though the media will probably inflate it to more than it is, I think it has to be a very strong second to really shake up the race and move forward, that they're a viable alternative to Ted Cruz, Donald Trump moving forward.
Right, because, you know, the states that are coming up at the end of February and in March, they sort of are in the Trump wheelhouse, because you get away from retail campaigning, you get away from town hall meetings in New Hampshire, and you're really just doing big rallies and trying to generate enthusiasm, and that's
he's
what
good
Trump,
at that. He's proved that he's good at that.
Right. Okay. So we'll have to see what happens.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Good job, as always.